Hi, I'm Sister Simone Campbell. I'm the Executive Director of Network, Lobby for Catholic Social Justice, and leader of Nuns on the Bus. And today, our virtual bus is in Northern Virginia, and we are visiting the Dream Project. I'm so excited because this project is all about dealing with dreamers and the issues of immigration in Northern Virginia. So let's bring our guests on and let's get started. Welcome to you all. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Before we start talking about the Dream Project and the amazing work that you're doing, maybe we could start with tell us where we are in Northern Virginia. Give us a little idea of the, the area in which we are. Could you help us?
Yes. Thank you very much for your invitation. And my name is Emma Violand-Sanchez. I am the chair and founder of the Dream Project. The Dream Project was founded in Arlington, in Northern Virginia, in Arlington. We are a rather small county across from the Potomac from Washington, D.C.
Okay, so you're an urban setting, right? Lots of people.
Yes, very diverse community, and at the same time, it's like a bimodal community. I mean, because there are people with very high income as well as people that live in poverty. And we have a significant number of immigrants and refugees in our county.
Oh, that's great to know, Emma. Thank you. Do Belinda, Lizette, or Daniel want to add anything about the place where you live at this point?
Sorry. I've been living in Arlington my whole life. It's very diverse, like Dr. Violand-Sanchez mentioned. I know my high school, Wakefield High School, was super diverse. Like, we were a majority high school. Most of the students looked like me there. So when I went to college, it was really weird being with so many Caucasian students. So yeah, Arlington's super diverse. So is Alexandria, the whole Northern Virginia area.
Well, that's great to know. I love it. And I'm sure that our listeners from all across the country are learning something new about Virginia. So this is great. Okay, so Belinda, did you want to add something?
I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, so definitely a very diverse borough. And I grew up in a neighborhood where we had about 12 to 14 languages spoken. So that was such a blessing to have that level of exposure to different parts of the world through our neighbors. And when I moved to Arlington 7 years ago, it was great to kind of have a microcosm of my experience here with the diversity that Lizette and Emma were sharing, because it's in that richness of our diversity that I believe as a country, we hone into our strengths as a people.
I wanted to ask something really fast. I'm Daniel, I'm from Peru, came here about, I think, 2010-ish. And I think it's important that Arlington, where we are, isn't only diverse, but it also has a sense of community. So it brings people together, and they have events, and they have all these networking events that we have locally. Where, again, myself, I've been taking advantage of that, getting to know more people, even though I've been living here for like a year now. So I'll highlight that.
Oh, that's great, Daniel, because that community building is really important, both for that sense of being able to work together and live together. That's really, thank you for lifting that up. Okay, so we've got to feel that it's a city, it's an urban setting, it's very diverse, lots of different languages, and that creates a real richness. Also, the point you raised, Emma, that it's what you call it bimodal, that there's both wealthy and poor. So that contrast, I think, makes a big difference too. So some of the issues we work on at Network is that. Okay, so let's dive into the Dream Project, and let's hear So I realized, Emma, I didn't use your proper title till Lizette did. Dr. Emma Violand-Sanchez. I love it. Congratulations. I'm so excited to have you with us to be able to talk about the beginnings of the Dream Project and what need did you see and what was your vision for what it could become?
In 2010, when, as you might remember, the DREAM Act failed by 6 votes or 5 votes at the Senate. And in Arlington, at that time, I was also on the school board. And what we learned is that the Attorney General of Virginia, Ken Cuccinelli, who now is in ICE and is directing these atrocious policies, sent a memorandum to colleges and universities that they should not admit students who were undocumented. So as a result, here we were in Arlington County school system, in a place that many of our students, we want them to strive to continue their education beyond high school. And we got together with a group of students and their parents. Some of them, 2 of them were valedictorians from their high schools. And they said, what are we going to do now? They were dismayed. They were tears. This was around December, December of 2010. These students and their families, we came together in my home. They were community members and, of course, some support from also our own churches, such as the Nova Catholic community. I am still a member of the Nova Catholic community, the Unitarian Church, and later other faith communities are supported, like the Presbyterians or the Episcopalians. And we said, we must come together as a group and help work with the students. The parents said, we can cook. And so let's raise some money. We can have a holiday dinner at my home. And that's how we raised the first $14,000 in order for us to award the first 4 scholarships to college. At the same time, you can imagine that these students were lost. And so they needed assistance into which colleges should they apply. Because if Virginia didn't want them, then what is it that they were going to do? And so as a result, some counselors and others, we started an informal mentoring program to assist them to not only to apply to the Dream Project scholarship, but also to other colleges, other scholarships that would welcome our students. Because unfortunately, many scholarships require the FAFSA, the Federal Assistance Form, and our students do not qualify for that. So that's how it started. And then Lisette, who is now our executive director, was, I don't know if you were in college, and she started to volunteer with us. And maybe Lisette can tell a little bit of her story and about the mission of the project.
That'd be great. Thanks, Emma, for letting me know. Lizette, you pick it up from there. So what's the experience?
Yeah, so I was actually about to graduate college. I was in my senior year in 2010 when the DREAM Act failed and the Dream Project founders got together in Emma's living room. So I watched the vote on the Senate floor on my laptop in my college dorm room and saw it fail. And I thought my whole life was over and got about it and like got super angry, like an angsty teenager. But looking back, I know that it wasn't the end because there is a community out there that is willing to support students that have motivation and that really have the drive to continue and become contributing members of the society. So I got back to Arlington after I graduated in 2011 and helped Dream Project actually provide or organize the award ceremony for the first 4 students that we had as scholars. And it was my first working experience. So I had a lot of fun making the certificates, securing our guest list and just organizing the event. And ever since then, I've been involved with the organization in one way or another. And the mission of the Dream Project is really to empower these low-income immigrant students so that they can access and succeed in college. So we have our mentoring program, which is for high school seniors and juniors now, and we pair them up with a mentor who helps them apply to college and scholarships. We have the scholarship, which is renewable for up to 5 years. Some of our students take longer than the traditional 4. And then we also, now that we have more alumni and we have 100 scholars, that's a lot of kids. We went from 4 to 100 really in 10 years, and it's been really amazing ride. But now that we have so many students that are connected to us, we are trying to provide them with more support and wraparound services. For example, we have a coaching program for our freshmen in college. We partner with Beyond 12, another nonprofit that works with this population. And these 24 students get a coach for the academic year to help them adapt to college life. We also we do workshops for our students and alumni throughout the year. And now that we are virtual, it's actually a little more possible to do those workshops for the students.
Wow, that's amazing. From 4 to 100 in 10 years. That's amazing. That is amazing. Belinda, so you're part of the coaching and talk to us about what you do before I put words in your mouth.
Okay. Well, I'm a former board member of the Dream Project and very involved with advocacy and working with different committees. And then our life as we knew it changed globally. And when the pandemic hit, it was obvious that our communities were going to be in real need. And as we know, communities of color, Black and Brown communities, immigrant communities have been disproportionately impacted by this pandemic in ways that maybe we could not even have fully imagined at the onset of this horrific crisis. And so the board got together very quickly and started to think about, well, how do we now become responsive to this crisis that we're facing? And with the huge economic downturn where families were losing work like virtually overnight. And all of a sudden you had a mom, a single parent, you had her son and a daughter that was in elementary school. So 2 employed individuals were now unemployed and there were no safety nets in place. No health insurance because of their status, the inability to apply for unemployment benefits. They were not eligible for the stimulus package through the CARE Act program. So when you consider not only the job loss piece, but when the safety nets are not in place in society to help individuals and families during these critical times, it makes a crisis convert into a tragedy pretty quickly. And so gratefully, we were able to come together and I was asked if I would be willing to fill in a temporary position as a part-time case manager so that we could serve as a bridge for families. Obviously, there was lots of fear, lots of anxiety, lots of uncertainty, but they were real basic needs, right? Food needed to be on the table. Rent needed to be paid. COVID-19 testing had to happen, but if you don't have health insurance and they were charging $200 at one point for an exam, then how do you access that, right? So we're talking about, equity and access and kind of the dysfunctions within our current healthcare system and our dysfunctions within our society that are leaving so many marginalized brothers and sisters sort of out in the cold to fend for themselves. So I stepped into that role, and I must say it's been a rewarding and life-changing role for me too, to be able to make connections to local nonprofit organizations, Department of Human Services, Arlington Free Clinic, for example, that is helping families with no insurance or with very limited insurance and tending to their care, providing information on free COVID-19 testing sites. And just to note, Sister Simone, not all of our students and scholars are from Arlington County. We have students throughout Northern Virginia. So we have them in Prince William County and Fairfax and the city of Alexandria. So it was about kind of hitting the ground running and forging these partnerships quickly to find out where can we get rental assistance so we can avoid the eviction crisis that was looming. Where can we get, tap into food banks and deliver grocery cards and get the medical support. So it was really a multifaceted approach to help families initially survive the full impact of this pandemic, and then help them go from survival to thriving, even in the midst of the circumstances. And one thing I really want to highlight that has come up even in our opening conversation has been the critical role of the faith-based community. And Dr. Emma has shared how pivotal they were in the very formation, right, of the Dream Project and raising those funds. But our faith-based partners go beyond sponsoring scholarships and raising money for our families in need. It's about the advocacy they're doing. It's about the emotional and spiritual supports they're providing virtually. It's about how they're opening different spaces, within the social distancing guidelines, right, to provide food pantries and clothing and other practical supports. But we're all united in this common mission to really strive for comprehensive immigration reform, humane and comprehensive immigration reform, and not just seeing it as a legal issue, but as people of faith, we're able to see this as a moral and spiritual mandate, right? To love neighbor as self, and to look out for those that are vulnerable and oppressed within our communities, that we're all brothers and sisters and children of God, and there are no artificial borders that separate us in God's eyes. So working together towards that effort has been really important as well, because we're multi-pronged in our approach at the Dream Project. So it's also about the advocacy piece that we continue to work towards, and we continue to partner with folks on, and we continue to leverage our resources locally and nationally to help keep our voices in that public square and keep these issues elevated so that those who are voted into power will not ignore us, but will heed the call that if we do not look out for those that are most vulnerable amongst us, that is how we will be judged. That is how we will be looked upon.
Absolutely. And Pope Francis's new encyclical uses the story of the Good Samaritan. And who is my neighbor? It is the one who is the unexpected, the one who breaks those limits, the one who welcomes everyone. And the other piece that Pope Francis points out is that the Good Samaritan needed the innkeeper. He needed a system to help take care of the injured person on the side of the road, which for me is like, we need comprehensive immigration reform to take care of all the casualties of our refusal to engage this issue. So Belinda, thank you for preaching that. That was fabulous. All right, I'm going to clip out that little part and just play it on a loop. It was perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel, I understand that you are an alum of the Dream Project. That's the case?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
I am, and I'm happy
how'd
to
you
be
get
part of it.
involved initially? Do you remember back when you first got involved?
Yeah, I do remember. I actually didn't know anything about this whole immigration issue that was happening here in the States. I was in school, just wandering around with friends, and just all of a sudden it hit me when I had to apply for college. First, I wasn't planning to, but then one of my counselors, Miss Rubio, advised me to come to one of the meetings at the Dream Project, and I just loved that because it was all about community and helping, and they provided me with a mentor, and that's where everything went on.
So
after that,
now you are, so talk to me. So they helped you with the applications to college?
Yeah, and not only that, they helped me overall, again, not only financially, but also emotionally, providing a mentor that can actually go through you in this process. Because it's not like they'll just leave you once you graduate. Even until today, I have my mentors, and they check up on me, and we talk, and it's just such a character development that they actually see on one of the mentees, right? I started as a mentee, and then after that, I changed to a mentor. So every Wednesday now, I get to talk to future college students, into what they can do and advise them on what route they can take when it comes to college. But it wasn't easy. The route wasn't easy, for sure. When I was in high school, I had so many problems. For example, my mom broke her arm. My dad died alongside those times too. And then we had to make a very hard choice, that my visa was going to expire, my mom's and I. And all of a sudden, through Marymount, through the community, through the Noble Catholic community, I got to know the president of Marymount. And he was able to offer me a full ride scholarship to Marymount.
Wow.
And I was not going to let that go. But my visa was going to expire, so I was going to stay here illegally, per se. So I had to make a choice, and I had to make a choice about my future, right? Not having all these bad things happening at the same time, kind of like put me in a box for a little bit. But my mentor through Marymount and to people at the Dream Project, they were able to help me and kind of assist me with different things that I needed throughout that process. And once I got to a stable place at Marymount, where I got to, what I do best, which is networking and do events and organize different things, I was able to share that happiness with the Dream Project, because they seen that process.
Wow, you know it from the inside out. That's
Yeah.
So what was your major at Marymount?
My major is on IT, information technology, with a specialty on interactive media.
So no wonder when we got on the Zoom, we were having a little audio trouble. That's why you knew, oh, maybe you could go in when you come in and fix the echo.
Oh yeah, no, I've been testing every since we have all this technology through Zoom now, or like through different video calls. I've been experimenting with different technologies that will help improve the lighting, the angles, the quality of it, and things like that. I'm a bit techie. I like hands-on experiences. Not only my major always works on the software side of it, systems, in the computer, but I like to move things, do hands-on more.
Make something happen.
Make something happen.
I hear that. Me too. Yeah. Well, I'm hearing that it's relationship, it's engagement, it's the needs of the time. And Belinda, when you were talking about the dramatic change in need with the COVID-19, I'm curious. Are you? What are families facing now? Have they found a new equilibrium, or does it continue at crisis mode? What's happening? And maybe your families are examples that we could hear. How's it going?
It's been a very dynamic process, where families can go from being in intense crises mode to a more stabilized setting, but then a week or two from now, they go back to being in crisis mode if there is loss of employment again, and many are in the hospitality, restaurant industries. So that's been a back and forth. So in essence, I have not seen a slowdown in the needs that are coming our way. There's ongoing need for food banks. There's ongoing need for rental assistance. We are grateful for the current moratorium on evictions, but we know that once that's lifted, those monies need to be paid, right? That's past due. So there's concern around how are we going to secure those funds if we're not working? We may, in many cases, living from check to check. So if those checks stop coming and there isn't a safety net in place to provide that backup, what happens then? So in the midst of the economic crises that's been pretty persistent throughout, this is on the heels of very turbulent 4 years of the current administration, right? That has already had our communities living in a state of ongoing trauma, ongoing uncertainty, ICE deportations, more threats, Daca the possibility of DACA ending. There's just been an onslaught. And I think when the pandemic hit, it was already at a point of such exhaustion for our community that this was sort of like that icing on a terribly layered cake that has really been filled with so much suffering and angst. So one of the things we have done as well is that we have partnered with a local university to provide counseling services and supports for families and students, because we were noticing that the rates of depression were increasing, the rates of anxiety, insomnia, just not being able to function as they normally would be functioning. So they were calling out for that kind of help also. And we realized we needed a very comprehensive approach, right? It wasn't just about meeting the basic physical needs, but it was also about meeting those emotional, psychological needs so that young people could get the supports and strategies they need now so they can function in school, so they can function in their part-time work. But also families were needing that support also. So our support has gone beyond students, and it's also supporting families with social services and counseling as well.
Emma, I can see you went in, so tell us.
Well, you know, as a nonprofit organization, our focus and our mission was, you know, it continues to be that our students graduate from college and they do continue into, you know, professional life. So in our strategic plan, we increased the number of scholars, increased the amount of money that they would receive, because we knew that our scholarship was not enough. So we were in, you know, it was a time that we feel we want them to continue in college. I know that sometimes it really feels like many students would say, I feel guilty, you know, for me to continue in college when I know that I should be doing X, Y, or Z to help my. But since our goal is for them to keep up with their studies, I know that it's difficult at this time, and now they are online. And yes, some students have difficulty even having, you know, they didn't have internet connection in their homes, some of them, and they were used to going to the community college or to Marymount University or to George Mason University in the area to do their work. And so we had to provide that additional support through, you know, we have also a loan fund to help them to pay for tuition up to $2,000. But again, that's not enough. So how do we keep our students focused on their education, focus on meeting their goals to continue to school, while this whole, you know, the financial, whatever savings they had, they were gone. But what we see in our community is resilience. And Daniel can probably later tell you the story of how he overcame the fact that even his mother got sick with cancer. So we believe, and that is what you have also said in the, you know, what Pope Francis said, is that how is it that we can keep the dream alive, you know, the dignity of each human person. And that this is some of the words from Pope Francis. He said, we need community that supports and helps us, in which we can help each other to keep looking ahead. How important is to dream together. By ourselves, we risk seeing mirages, things that are not there. Dreams, on the other hand, are built together. So, Dream Project community, the students need to be engaged in their education. Family needs to be supported, and that's what got. And later I can talk also about, but I will stop now to talk about how the federal policies have impacted our community. But I'll stop right now. I don't know if Lisette or Danielle want to say something.
We'll get to the federal policies. It's on the list, promise. But the piece is this impact, and I'm wondering, Lizette and Daniel, if you can talk a little bit about. I had never thought until Emma said about how students continuing their college education can feel guilty for not leaving school and getting a job. And I'm wondering, Lizette, is this an issue that you deal with many of the students, and that's why expanding service is important, or how is it with the students who are currently in school, or the alums for that matter?
Sure. So yeah, like was mentioned, some students do feel guilty taking away resources from the family to have themselves, to afford their college education. Many of our students I think 80% of our students are actually working while they go to college. So they still provide for their families, or they also provide childcare for their families. So they're always, the very exemplary family members, excellent students, very driven students. There is that guilt while they're in college for some of them. For some of them that are a little bit luckier, I guess, they don't have to feel guilty. But what happens that I've observed is that students that are low income and immigrants, once they enter college and then once they go into their first jobs, they'll always feel guilt, like survivor's guilt, because they were the ones that made it. So I know when Daca happened, many of the students that qualified for Daca, and for those who don't know, Daca is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals provided by the Obama administration for certain immigrants that were out of status. So students that qualified for Daca could get this work permit, they could start driving, they could, in many states, get in-state tuition. But some of their friends that were, they were fighting for immigration reform for, a few years now. They didn't qualify because they came maybe a little too late. They were a little too old, whatever the eligibility requirement was that they didn't meet. So now these two friends that really have the same amount of skills and motivation have two very different paths, one with much more opportunity and one with much less opportunity. So there's always those themes of guilt. I think when low-income immigrants go to college, when they get their first job, and then whenever they're advancing in the socioeconomic ladder. And that's what I observed among the Dream Scholars and also among my friends, and because I've been connecting with immigrant advocates that are younger than me and my age.
I wanted to add that a little bit of my experience, and even though I was very lucky to have this almost full ride scholarship to Marymount, in which I didn't have to worry about money or paying for college for the whole 4 years.
Right.
I set the books and every now and then a few events. I was very lucky to have that. But then again, seeing my coming home after a long day of studying and being involved at Marymount, which I'll stay sometimes all the way to 11 at night, just to clean up and everything. Just seeing my mom working throughout this whole time and me not being able to help her financially in a way. It was just heartbreaking for me. I quickly went on having leaderships positions at Marymount where they will compensate, right? And that kind of helped me a little bit too. But then again, that comes every semester, and it wasn't enough to cover everything that we had going on. At the time, it was also the time where we were upgrading where we used to live. My mom and I could only afford a small little room. But then my mom got a very good job around that time too, and then we're able to move to a normal size apartment, which we were very happy about, and that's one of our biggest accomplishments that we have together. But even then, since now we have more things to take care, so it's just something that we're always I feel limited with all this knowledge that I learned in college, right? Not being able to work, not being able to put it into practice. How do I do it? How do I make it? And that's where I started. Well, it was way before that, but that's where I recognized that, I can get it in the form of volunteering. I can get a lot of experience through that and to exercise my volunteering. So at Merriman, I used to volunteer for free for the most part in different skills that I have, which is on marketing, video editing, video production for events, designing, graphic designing for different websites. So different things like that I will do for free because again, they were paying for my college. So I was like, you know what, why not, give them back what they gave me and also get some experience from that. And that's what eventually helped me gain all the experience of those different fields that I have, not only on my major, but also things around that. Soft skills that people will call it, paying attention, doing all these things, being able to talk to other people, being able to read other people, knowing who you're working with, and how can you bring the best out of them, right? I was president of the international club, which was a very big responsibility because we have a lot of international people on Marymount, and how do you keep them in a community? I had a really good team, and we made it work, and we did one of the biggest events at Marymount, which came out very successful, which is also one of my personal accomplishments. But yeah, I had a lot of experience through that, which now, since I can work, I'm not able to apply for DACA because I came here just the year before that, I think. So, yeah, so it's a bummer for me to see it, but I can see my friends' happiness that I have a dream project, and also worriness when the DACA things was going out, where they were almost about to lose it because their families will depend on that. And then they're driving, they work 2 or 3 jobs, and then they'll it's like taking those legs that they give you in the first place. But I feel like I'm the person without legs. They never gave me a leg, so I learned how to go around it. So I never had that problem. But then again, it comes with more issues in the future when it comes to the future of working and getting some income and helping my mom pay for bills, right? I recently started this own company, my own agency of marketing and content designing for media, for digital, platforms. So that kind of helped me through, and I'm happy that I'm helping my mom pay for things now. And I'm happy that I have the experience to show my clients that I can do this, and this, and this. And that's not only counting my major. In my major, I can do this, and this. So I'm able to bring a whole lot of services for my clients. Since I can work legally, I'm able to...
You can't be employed.
Yeah, I can't be employed, but I'm able to work on my own business, and hopefully with the hopes, I have the business in hopes to hire more people on my business that can work under me. So eventually I want to create more jobs here in the Arlington area.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, but Daniel, I think you've led us to the exact place where we need to be to talk about some of the policy and some of the challenges. Because Lizette, you were pointing out the reality of some qualifying, some not, people being left out, that this administrative fix with the DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, was really just that, administrative. It's not a change in the law. And that's why the Trump administration tried to do away with it. And they said they're still working on doing away with it, but the Supreme Court said they'd done it the wrong way. So at least it bought a little time. I just want to say I have a sign up here that says, "Who we elect matters." So everybody watching, who we elect matters. All right. And they just put up the link to Turbo Vote on our website, where you can learn all about the voting requirements for your state. So, okay, this matters. Now, let's talk policy, because we're right near Washington, D.C., and this is not a state issue. This is a national issue that we have to fix. And it's been broken for a long time. Yeah. So let's talk. What do you see? What do we need? What are the problems? What are the solutions? Help.
Okay. I just would like to tell a little bit the story as I remember, and even writing it, little notes about myself, about the trauma, really, that happened after, I have to mention, Trump got elected. Wednesday, after Tuesday, we had a mentoring group. We had about 25 students plus the mentors. And the only thing we could do is to hold hands while the students and all of us, were shedding tears. But we were, again, building that community that this is painful because we had heard, and we didn't think that it was going to happen. The way that, it wasn't just the wall, but it was the way that talked about criminals, about rapists, and all those words hurt. And when we see that somebody that's talking about us in that way got elected, and immediately fear for raids, ICE raids, the fear that when, the Daca students would lose their Daca, the parents. And so we had to, again, shift gears. We, fortunately, in the DREAM project, we have 2 board members that are immigration lawyers. And so immediately they started providing, some workshops about know your rights, how to do a power of attorney if somebody is going to be, put in jail. How is it, or is going to be deported? So it was all emergency planning. At the same time, in the school system, since I was a school board member, we were saying, what if ICE comes to the schools? And that's how, remember in some communities, ICE did come to pick up parents from outside schools. So we had to have this preparedness to help the students, the families, not just because in essence, we're talking about helping about 300 or more people, but the rest of the community. We couldn't forget that the DREAM project is a small nonprofit, but then was the rest of the community to collaborate with others. Then came the Refugee Ban. I can never forget Ola, who came from Sudan with her mom, her brother, her sister. Suddenly the trauma comes back. They were waiting just to have that appointment to get their asylum. Stopped. Sudan, all things stopped. And to this day, they do not have their asylum. So that's what it happened. And then as we were thinking, again, the separation of families. We were, people at the border, separation of families. One of our students, Ali, she had come with her mom from El Salvador, crossing the border. And at the border, she was separated from her family. Again, she tells me she was outside of, she was going to Marymount, outside of classes. And the trauma of separation comes back. She said, I was immobilized. I couldn't just go into the classes. I was completely immobilized, sitting on the parking lot crying so that she could continue with her education. But the trauma of many of the students that have crossed the border comes back again, the family separation, all of that. And so we were, even in the schools, I remember on the school board, hearing from a school that suddenly some students started wearing the red hats, the Make America Great Again. And they would come into they were in their high schools. They were offended if there was, for example, parents complaining that there was Black Lives Matter, like a bulletin board. Or then, teachers that saying we all are welcoming immigrants or welcoming, all are welcome in our classrooms. And then some parents complaining. And so here, this was happening in a very progressive school system. One of our students goes to the school board and she states, I'm undocumented, unafraid, and unapologetic. She goes, she tells it to the school system, I am here and I'm not going away. Now she goes back to her high school and some students say, okay, we're calling ICE on you. High school students would say that. Now, fortunately, this student is now with a POSI scholarship, at Lafayette College. But here we are. Not only are we dealing with the environment, but this division within the communities. So then Daca, September 6th, I was driving. I hear Attorney General, even I start forgetting, Sessions.
Barr. Oh,
Sessions. Sessions, he talks about doing away with Daca and doing away because these are criminals, they are bringing their gang members, and all the Daca students that I knew from the Dream Project, they were in my mind. They were already engineers. They were already working. So are you telling me that these are, and so it, for us that we know these students, it hurts us. How does it hurt them? But then again, they keep on going. Okay, then we say you have to renew your DACA as soon as possible. You have to renew your DACA. We were praying with network outside the Capitol, praying the rosary, so that the Promise Act would pass, and it passed, but then it stuck. So all of these things matter, and we are thankful that Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg was alive when the DACA decision was made. We know again is with the cruelty cutting back instead of 2 years, 1 year. That's what we witnessed, these policies that directly impacted, plus the pandemic. And I think that Belinda has already talked about it. Yeah. But the cruelty of the decisions are felt by people, like the 215,000 people that have died. It was somebody's mother, somebody's father, somebody's child. And that we forget. And so this is a time that we need to vote, we need to act, and we need to elevate our voices. We can't continue like this.
Amen. Amen. All right. I'm signing you all up for preachers at my church. You are excellent. Now, but the thing that you're telling is the real stories of real people. This is not a theoretical policy or somebody's fantasy. You know the truth of what this means to community. And that's part of the reason we do these site visits, is to hear the truth. Hear the truth. And I'm wondering, Lizette, could you share a little bit more about how you view this policy piece with the families you know? Because you made so clear that it's not just the dreamer who can get the scholarship to school and the mentoring, but it's the whole family. We've got to be aware of that. How do these policies impact? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my experiences with DACA. So I received DACA when it first was announced and available. It really provided me an opportunity to use my college degree and get a better job, with good pay, benefits, and really feel that I finally could contribute to the country that I call my own. And I think that feeling is widespread among DACA recipients. Many of our students also got those better jobs and good pay with DACA. But then when the threat of DACA being taken away was there, the reliance on that paycheck was, am I going to be able to continue working if I don't have DACA? How much lower is our income going to be? And since many of our students do help their parents with financially, since they live at home or they just help, that impacts the whole family unit, because they having that stress of, am I going to have a job what will this look like without DACA is not it's not fair, and also it dampens the experience, I guess, of being in that family. I know, like, a lot of our students were able to renew their DACA, throughout and be okay, which was great. But what happened was that new students could not apply for DACA. So the younger Dream Scholars and mentees are cut out of DACA. So we have students entering college that are completely undocumented, more so now than ever in the Dream Project history, because Dream Project started only a year before 2 years before DACA happened. So this is kind of a new dilemma we're seeing evolve, and that's getting a little off topic. But the students that don't have DACA also have to think, oh, like, how am I gonna make a paycheck? What am I gonna do with this degree? How can I help my family? Where do they need me most? So that's kind of the stress of that happens in the students and the families' minds because of these policy changes. And it really hurts, not just the right now, it's a traumatizing experience, because throughout your life, I can say personally, from applying to college undocumented and then graduating undocumented, and then maybe DACA's taken away, there's always that, like, oh, like, when am I going to be able to be okay and be stable? And I know that feeling is a lot of my friends that have DACA or don't have it feel the same way. And it's stressful, it's defeating, and kind of de-energizing. And I think eventually, over the long term, this is really, it will harm the individuals that are going through it all in irreversible ways. So the policies that have been implemented and the impact are really harming real people right now that are in the communities that we love and are living in. And when you go vote, or when you go out and do rallies and whatever, just always keep in mind that the policies aren't just about what's on paper, who has the papers. It's about people that are impacted, not just right now from that, like today, it's their whole life. They're just they're completely shaped by that experience.
Well, I think that's so critical. Belinda, you want in on this one? Go for it.
Yeah, as I was just listening to you, Lisette, one of our students comes to mind that we've been working closely with. We'll go by her first name, Maria, and she's a DACA recipient and has been on that roller coaster ride, right, with all these changes. And she and her family all got impacted directly with COVID. So everyone was infected. She has underlying condition of asthma. So her recovery has been long-term. And with the supports that she's received, with the community that we experience together, because we are a family, we consider ourselves an extended familia, right? With one another, she's been able to get back on her feet. They're able to get back to work and still be able to focus in on her studies and excel. And I think I just want to wrap up with her closing words here that she shared with us, because it speaks to what Dr. Emma and Daniel were sharing, that, part of the gift here, Sister Simone, is not just that we are giving to community, but this community gives so much to us. This community gives so much to each other. They give so much to our society, so much to our country. And we're a better country because of their many contributions that often go unheard and uncelebrated. And so I want to kind of celebrate the resilience of that community by sharing this quick quote that she sent to us. And she said, "I just wanted to thank you so much for all of your support and help alongside the Dream Project. The emergency relief fund that you provided, the grocery gift card provided immense relief, and I simply don't know how we would have gotten through this time without all of the love and support we have received. My hope is that when we return to in-person events, we are able to meet and hold one another."
Wow. Well, that brings tears to my eyes. Isn't that the truth? It's community. It's community. It's all of us together. And some of this, I mean, Lizette, when you were talking about, and Dr. Emma, when you were talking about those first horrible announcements, the Muslim ban and all this terrible stuff that has happened, what it was trying to shred our community. And what I see in the Dream Project is you all are stronger than that terror of the government trying to do something. And Daniel,
Yes.
hearing your commitment to making your own business and to making a difference that way, holy moly, that's fantastic. That's exactly what our nation needs. So people watching, wake up, nation, wake up. We're community. We're in this together. Okay, we only have like 3 minutes left. So this is going to have to be short, but you all are, it's so fabulous talking to you. I'm so grateful. And you've sort of said this, but I want to give you one chance to kind of summarize it. What do you want people who are watching to know, to think about as they come to vote? What should they be thinking about as we vote this year? And Dr. Emma, we'll start with you.
Well, I want people to vote that we have an incredible number of immigrants and refugees that can contribute to this country. And if you can, please vote in their name. It's a privilege to vote. Many are not able to vote. And the other thing I want to say, keep supporting the Dream Project. We need your
support. Good foundress and campaign person. I love it. Excellent. Melinda.
And I would just end by saying every vote matters. And this is probably the most critical election in modern history, and compassion and humanity and honesty and integrity and love and community are on the ballot this year. So please, please think about that, kind of as your banner says, Sister Simone, who we elect really matters now more than ever.
Amen. Amen. Daniel, we'll give Lizette the last word. So Daniel, you want to say?
Yeah, I was going to say something that I always put into play, which is putting myself into other people's shoes and seeing it from my perspective, knowing little things, researching, knowing that, for example, undocumented, well, we pay taxes, for example. A lot of people don't know that. We contribute to society a lot more than just that. Just like me, there are a lot of students out there, or just people in general, that are willing to give back to the community. They just need a little push. And of course, the Dream Project is here to give that little push.
That's so true, isn't it? People give back. And that piece of taxes, people often don't know how much undocumented pay in taxes, and they get zero benefits back. So, all right. And Lizette, the last word, go for it.
Thank you. So I want to echo what Dr. Violand-Sanchez said to support the Dream Project. Our website, dreamproject-va.org, is right on the screen. And also I want to ask everyone to try and learn more about the undocumented immigrant experience. There are plenty of books. It's really unique. You will be inspired because all immigrants, I feel, have this passion for improving themselves and their world. So it's a great topic to learn more about, and also become more active in advocating for our nation's future immigration policy, which will be hopefully a lot better than it is right now.
Let us pray to the Lord. That's my daily prayer, is let's fix the law, let's welcome the people, and let's integrate our society into community. You all are such a fabulous example of that integration into community. The support of each other touches my heart deeply, and I'm sure it touched our folks that were watching. May we be able to follow in your footsteps and create community all across this country. Thank you so much for this conversation, and I'll see you next time at the Capitol when we're making legislative change, okay?
Thank you, Sister Simone.
Thank you.
Thank you.